So good evening, everybody. I've been asked to give a 10-minute talk on anger and is it worth it? Is anger worth it, that is. So I think it's a very good question. Is anger worth it? I think sometimes we definitely think anger is worth it, especially when we're getting angry. And then I think sometimes we think anger is not worth it. And that's generally when other people are getting angry. And we think they're making a mountain out of a molehill, you know. And sometimes also, even when we've been angry and we look back at the situation later, then we think that wasn't worth it. But the thing is, for as long as we think even a little bit that anger is worth it, then we're going to follow our anger and we're going to keep getting angry because it is a very bad habit. And what I thought we could do in this short 10 minutes that we have is think about, is it worth it? But from our own experience, see how anger arises and see our own part in the development of anger, because I think that helps us understand why it doesn't work. And hopefully we'll come to the conclusion that anger doesn't work. So this book, How to Solve Our Human Problems, written by Venerable Geshe-la, title is How to Solve Our Human Problems. But interestingly enough, in the first few pages, Geshe-la explains the Four Noble Truths, and so in general, our human problems, where they come from, and so on. And then he spends about 80 pages discussing anger, what's wrong with it, and how to get rid of it. And yet the title is How to Solve Our Human Problems. We have other human problems, but clearly anger is a big one. It warrants a whole title, How to Solve Our Human Problems. And if we think about actually what Geshe-la says in a chapter called The Faults of Anger, he says anger is one of the most common and destructive delusions, which means like negative, unpeaceful state of mind, a delusion. And it afflicts our mind almost every day. If we look globally at the faults of anger, and when we say anger, we don't just mean blind rage, we mean intolerance, aversion, hatred, just feeling even unhappy, uncomfortable about situations such that we want to push them away, react against them. If we look globally at the problems caused by anger, then we can see there's so much problems in the world in general, so much fighting, so much disharmony, so much difficulty arising because people simply cannot get along, due to anger, hatred. If we look in our own lives at anger, what it does to our own lives, also we can see so many problems come from our own anger. If we look at the development of anger, as I said earlier, this will help us understand our own part in the creation of anger. Sometimes we think anger just arises out of nowhere in response to difficult situations. In other words, the problem is out there, and then we get angry as a natural response to that horrible situation. I think that's what we think sometimes, isn't it? The problem is out there, and we're just responding to it with anger. But if we look at Buddha's definition of anger and how it develops, I think we'll see that it's not quite what's going on. The problem is not out there. The problem is actually coming from our way of looking at the situation, our way of reacting. In the definition, Geshe-la, he says, what is anger? Anger is a deluded mind. As I said, delusion is unpeaceful, uncontrolled state of mind that focuses on an animate or inanimate object, which pretty much counts, that's everything, isn't it? Anything can be an object of anger, if we check, anything. Feels it to be unattractive. Actually, so far, so good. Life, is not a bed of roses. We do encounter unpleasant situations. We do encounter maybe difficult people. Things do appear to us to be unattractive from time to time. It's what we do with that unpleasant situation and so on that is what matters. So with anger, we focus on the inanimate or inanimate object. We feel it to be unattractive. And then we exaggerate its bad qualities. This is when the problem starts. We exaggerate its bad qualities. Any photographers in here? Yes, there are. So if you have a zoom lens and you're trying to zoom in on someone, you zoom right in on them and you can really make their face very, very big and you can edit out everything else about them. That's what anger does. It zooms in on the perceived faults of that person or situation and makes them very big, and it conveniently edits out everything else about that person. Any good qualities they may possess are conveniently forgotten. I'm going to give you just one simple illustration, but in reality we need to check in our own experience, in meditation, looking at our own mind, last time we got angry, how it developed. I'm going to just give you one simple illustration. Let's say you go to a movie. You've been looking forward to it for such a long time. You've been working really hard. It's like a treat for yourself. So looking forward to it. I want to go to this movie. Can't wait to see it. So we turn up at the movie house. We sit down. We put all our coats and bags on the chair next to us. Last thing we want is someone sitting next to us. So you sit there and you think, ah. And then someone starts walking up the gangplank holding one of those enormous tubs of popcorn. And you look at them and you think, they're not coming over here, are they? But you notice they are coming straight towards that empty seat next to you. It isn't empty, but they obviously think it is empty. They have enough popcorn to feed an army. No human can eat that much popcorn. Already we're beginning to think, this person is annoying. Popcorn person. It's coming over here, but surely they can see that my bag's there, my coat is there. But no, they're so inconsiderate, they come right over and they say, do you mind if I sit there? And of course we mind desperately. And you say, no, it's okay. Yeah, sit there, sure. So they sit down and they're very happy and they look at us and they smile and they start munching. And this is a big, big bucket of popcorn they've got to get through. And they start munching and we start fixating on their munching of the popcorn. The movie's beginning to show, but all we can think of is just chomping teeth. And they're chomping and chomping, and we're thinking, I just can't believe they're just so inconsiderate. They're just sitting there chomping, ruining my entire enjoyment. They're so greedy, they shouldn't be eating that much popcorn. Horrible. Completely ruining my evening. And don't they realize how long I've been waiting? I've been working so hard. And on it goes, and even when we're trying to concentrate on the screen, we're even just like imagining their jaw working. And their teeth chomping and the butter dribbling down their cheek. And maybe they turn and smile at us and they're having a great time. They'd like us to have a good time with them, but no. Anyway, you get the picture. We exaggerate them. We entirely neglect to think about anything good about them. Perhaps they spent the whole day saving people's lives in hospital, you know, and they're just coming in and they're relaxed because they've done such a good job. But do we see any of their good qualities? No. They're just the popcorn muncher.